So before we start, I will share two recent cases which I myself observed. One relates to the supply chain just before the session happened, and everybody was talking about AI, cost, transformation, etc. And I'll tell you, I met a very senior professional who runs, say, worth 20,000 crore company, and then we got a very common discussion. And then he said, I have a problem. I said, what? So he spent around 800 odd crores rupees in only logistics, out of which 700 crore only in transportation. Then he said, now it's a time when we should think of optimizing it. So I said, why now? Why not 3 years before? He said, मुझे मेरे दिमाग में ही नहीं आया. Right? So that's the problem. Usually people in the professional life do not look into too much because it is 1%, 2%, 3% of the whole top line. Now the second topic which we will be talking about pathogens. In most of the organization, if you look at, the cost of pathogens is about less than 1% to the top line, right? Or if you look at the overall bill of material, the ratio of the pathogen cost is negligible and hence nobody looks at. And I will share one more recent cases which happened in front of me. A startup has started a FMCG product with a small market, test marketing. The product inside the pathogen was fantastic. But the whole lot of 2 trucks were rejected only because the outer pathogen was not, I would say very fancy. Though the quality was good, but it was not looking so nice and hence customers have not accepted the product. So it is also important that how pathogens is imported in the whole value chain in an organization, not only the BOM. Right? And with that, I will start formally the session which we have today. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege to welcome you all at today's panel discussion talking about industrial pathogen, balancing the automation with safety and compliances. As I said, the industrial pathogen is no longer just about containing and transporting product. Today, it sits at the intersection of automation, regulatory compliances, sustainability, quality assurance, supply chain resilience, we spoke. As industry embrace AI, robotics, smart pathogens, and digital traceability, the expectation from pathogen system have fundamentally changed. They are expected to be faster, safer, smarter, and more sustainable at the same time. The challenges, however, is that the greater automation must never come at the cost of safety or compliance. Success will bring to organizations that can seamlessly integrate technology with robust quality system, zero error processes, and evolving regulatory requirement, while still delivering operational efficiency and cost competitiveness. Today, this panel, who brings years and years of experience, will bring together the knowledge, the information, and their experiences, which they will speak, and I'm sure some of you can relate to your day-to-day life in your workplace, and I'm sure it will be helpful to each one of us when we go back at our workplace and then implement some of those experiences, knowledge, and the expertise which they will speak in our workplace and make our organization much more agile, resilient, and the compliant one. So with that, I have questions which I'm sure I will not be joined in a sequence as people are sitting. And then I would request each one of you, I want if it is more relates to your experiences with 1 or 2 examples which you could solve in your day-to-day life, will be much more interesting and acceptable, usually to the audience, which they can relate to their day-to-day life there. Yeah. So with that, maybe my first question to Prakash, since you're sitting next to me in left, with India evolving quality control need, the regulatory requirement, and also increasing stringent EHS compliances, not only by the organization, but also by the government nowadays. How should organizations design their future-ready pathogen systems that remain compliant, without compromising on the operational agility?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Koshalji. Clariant being a multinational company, regulatory compliance is always on the top priority. We should treat this regulatory compliance as a proactive approach rather than reactive approach. So I will give you a classical case. Let us say I want to fill sulfuric acid and send to my customers. So I cannot fill the sulfuric acid into the pulpate bottle. Why? Because this product is not compatible with the package. So one has to be very careful whenever we are transporting any chemicals from one place to another place. So what are the really regulatory compliance you should follow? Because if we see the dangerous good regulations, in dangerous good regulation it is clearly defined that if I am transporting any dangerous good from let us say India to Europe, then I need to have the package which is UN approved package. What is this UN approved package? UN approved package means this package is tested and this and certified that this can take this particular material to that particular destination. So this is how the certification is done by various regulatory authorities. Panicker sir is also here. Maybe he can also give more insight on this. So there are some certain regulatory authorities like Indian Institute of Packaging, TUV, who regularly certifies the packages. And then they give the concurrence that this particular package is compatible with this material. So this is how regulatory compliance need to be followed. I will give my own example in my company. Previously, we used to use HDPE drum for one of our product. And while transporting from close to 500 kilometers, the drum was getting some, what we can say, the dent. And then we really investigated this particular case, that why this drum is really getting dented by traveling so close to 500 kilometer distance. And doing this particular investigation, we could found that the size of that particular drum was really very less, and we really need to increase the size of the diameter or thickness of that drum. And we done few trials, and then successfully we can clearly found out the root cause analysis, that if we could increase the packaging the diameter of the package, then what we can say, the non-conformance has drastically reduced to 1 to 2%. So this is how one has to work whenever we are dealing with these packages. So regulatory compliance also plays a very important role, and all the, what we can say, the people should give more importance to this. As you also know that there are series of regulations are coming to India. Maybe we can discuss this later. Maybe Koshal ji, you can take this side.
Thank you, Prakash ji. So the next question is more about how automation can positively impact the safety, and I would request Shirish ji to help the audience about this question. As manufacturers pursue fully automated packaging lines, where should they draw the line between the automation and human intervention to ensure safety is enhanced rather than compromised?
Yeah, thank you, Koshal ji, and I would like to thank ICN also for inviting me over here. This is my first such experience of sitting with all the experts over here, so please excuse me if I get confused or I refer my notes. So basically, automation, we should look at automation as an enabler. Okay, it's an enabler and it's not the ultimate objective. And when automation, we see the automation through the business eyes, it should be connected to the business objective. What is my ultimate objective for which I am doing this automation? If we can align this topic well, then only we get the result from the automation. Otherwise, it becomes unnecessary capital expenditure, or the system is not being utilized. That you see very common in India. I mean, go across the plant, we have the best of automation, but hardly people are using it because that is not their need. So where should I do the automation? Automation where there is a risk of employee getting subjected to any kind of hazards or any kind of repetitive work. So that if I eliminate the hazard, I can safeguard my people who are working for us, and a repetitive task, I can improve my efficiency. I can give some of the examples from our business. We are into the manufacturing of inks, adhesives and coatings. So we have automation like for solvent charging, solvent which is hazardous. So we have automation for solvent charging and resin transfer. So we have eliminated the fire hazard and exposure of the solvent vapors to the people who are charging it. Second one is automated pigment and powder dosing system. So I was connecting to your presentation where you are talking about the powder and all. It is definitely very tough task because the dust comes out while charging it. And if we have some automation, the guys who are working, they can be safeguarded. Then the robotic palletizing and depalletizing, like this work can be very well automated. Apart from that, automated guided vehicle so that you can avoid the risk of this forklift getting, hit through some of the systems. Next is the packaging and the labeling. So these are the repetitive tasks because you are going to pack n number, thousands or maybe millions of packs. If those can be automated, you can really derive a lot of benefit out of it. So the basic is that you should avoid manual handling, you should reduce the ergonomic risks, and next is improve the process consistency. That's where we should bring in the automation. Thank you.
10 series. And any discussion without talking about cost optimization wouldn't complete. Yeah. So though we are only talking about safety, but I thought it is also important to bring some perspective about how do we optimize cost. And I would request Lalit ji to help answering this question. Usually safety compliance is often viewed as a cost center. How can organization build a compelling business case that demonstrates automation-driven safety improvements, also delivers measurable ROI through reduced waste, downtime, recalls, and insurance risks?
Thank you. I think this is my, this session is also my first this type of session. So again, as I see, safety is not the cost center, it is a value creator. So good automation will improve the safety, it will reduce the losses, minimize the errors, and it will be consistent and improve the profitability. See, I can share one example of ours. See, we are in the manufacturing of bulk chemicals. Day to day, we are producing, I think, more than 3,000 tons of the bulk chemical we are transporting in and out. So most of the chemicals we are, almost all the chemicals we are transporting through the bulk tankers. And bulk tanker is a very, transport to bulk tanker is a very tedious and it need a very safety, Although we have a basic task system, terminal automation system at our site during in our design. But when we started this system, we found a lot of deviation, like there are the safety issues, overfill system is not properly, then positioning system of the filling, it was not proper. There was the earthing issues, means without earthing the bulk tanker was filling this type of this thing. The drivers are shorting the earthing clips without putting in the tanker. All these things we have taken care with the help of the new automation. We have integrated this task system along with the ERP as well as our CRM system, along with the our gate control system, that is the TEG. So by implementing all these systems, we have complied whatever the statutory requirement, like gate control system. Whenever any vehicle will come, it will be entered into the vehicle master, and the vehicle master will fetch the data from the RT also. So whatever the statutory requirement, if he is not complied, that will not go for the filling. And after that, all the calibration requirement, calibrations, your Suraksha, we are call is the Suraksha, it is a fitness certificate, and surveyor checks. So after everything that will be checked, then only that container will go for the filling. And through the CRM system and SAP, it is loaded. And second thing, the time for the loading was reduced. You can say earlier when we started, the time was, our TAT was around 8 hours, 7.5 to 8 hours. With this, we have reduced the TAT around 4.5 to 5 hours with enhanced the safety and all the statutory requirements. We hardly found any non-compliances for the statutory after that one. And we never faced that overfill issues and earthing issues because we have implemented the new type of systems for the earthing where we use the capacitance and resistance type of sensors. Unless and until that it will not connect with the tanker at the two different places, it will not be healthy. That was the things. Then we have installed the positioning system, loading arm positioning system. So unless and until that it was not correctly positioned, the filling will not start. So this type of things we have taken care. Again, we have removed the weighment, the things. We have filled this with the mass flow meters, which is more accurate and reliable and consistent. And we have reduced the TAT with the very significant manner. So that was the live example of ours where we have taken care of all the safeties, customer requirements, and our profitability, you can say. So that is the thing. We can introduce this automation system for the packaging and these things, which will improve our safety first. Thank you.
So you said 4.5 to 5 hours it would save in the loading time.
No,
tanker loading time.
no, it is a TAT, means my gate entry to gate out.
Oh.
Yeah.
So then
that
how much was the total time earlier taken?
earlier it was 8 hours.
8 hours, so almost less by 50%.
Almost 50
Almost.
to 60%, yes.
Amazing. I'm sure this is one of the very, very important problem which most of the chemical company right now have. Whoever is operating in the tanker loading, jet in to jet out, 8 to 10 hours is very, very common. But if we can slash it by 50%, I'm sure everybody in the whole value chain will be happy. Yeah. Thanks, Shirish. And now hereby requesting Panicker ji to help us understand how can technologies such as RFID, IoT sensors, digital passports and dynamic QR code, how it transforms industrial packaging from a passive container into an intelligent system that strengthens compliance, traceability and supply chain visibility, sir.
Thank you for the question. I'm talking purely from the perspective of dangerous goods transportation, which Prakash just alluded to, because that's my area of work. For a long time, we have never used any of these systems, whether it's RFID or IoT or whatever is there. Previous session, somebody was talking about control tower for managing the supply chain. Now, when it comes to dangerous goods, as he alluded, there are already well-established international framework or regulation as we talk, where you need to comply with right from the first thing. And I'll talk about the first thing as well. That is classification identification to the packaging and marking and labeling and stuffing the container and marking that. Okay, everything is provided, including how the packages must be made, how they must be tested, how they must be marked, so that everybody in the supply chain are aware that these are UN tested or specification package as we call them. What is the challenge? The challenge is the way package testing is done everywhere, not just in India, but everywhere. Okay, the manufacturer of the packaging picks up a sample from their manufactured product, or whether he does a prototype, one really doesn't know, goes to the packaging institution, get the testing done, they issue the certificate, they issue a noting, which is called a specification mark, that can be put on the package. Till then, it's fine. But then, who can verify that this specification mark which the lab gave to this manufacturer is being affixed on all the right package from that batch only. The provision is, if I change the batch and I change the specs, whether it is dimension, design, whatever, I need to do retesting. Now imagine I'm receiving a package from an X supplier, says you have to take this, and he sends me a whole lot of certificate, including the packet test certificate. That piece of certificate is a piece of toilet paper, very honestly speaking, because I do not know whether that test report pertains to the package that is given to me by the customer. How do I track that? I had a very interesting debate with IIP people and some other person day for yesterday. It went on for 2 hours on the same topic. We could not come to a conclusion. And when this topic was given to me, I said, maybe there is a possible solution. Maybe we use RFID. How does it help? It helps by tracking the package from the correct batch size, because then you can input a lot of information. Who tested it, when it was manufactured, who tested, what certificate was issued, to which batch it was issued, and which was the manufacturer, how many product of that were got this number, how many moved out of the factory and given to the user, whether it is a chemical manufacturer or exporter or whatever. And then he cannot use any further more that information once the whole lot is done. How is that information useful with RFID? I just need to scan the data. I don't have to worry about all this paperwork that comes in there. So RFID, very, very important possible solution. But the question is, how can we really implant the RFID in such UN specification package? If you can solve that, this would be the best solution. IoT. Do we need it? Yes, we need it, because there are many dangerous goods like self-reactive substance or organic peroxides which are temperature controlled. We have no clue. Look at the number of vessels which have been hit by accident caused by fire, because they were not able to know what is the controlled temperature in which this product needs to be moving. The other idea, digital product passport, and other excellent idea that can be implemented. What is it in essence? You capture all the information right from the UN numbers to all the certificates that you need them in one single place. And believe me, when you are shipping out a dangerous goods product, there are a host of documents that are needed. From the standard shipping document like a commercial invoice to packing list, to all those are related to the chemical product. You have the dangerous goods declaration, you have the safety data sheet, you have the SCOMET declaration, you have all other product information that are needed, and you have a host of paperwork that you are carrying along with you when you are taking the shipment to the airport or the port for handing over to the airline or the shipping line. All can be eliminated by the digital information that is there in the passport. Who can use it? Every single person in the supply chain. Right from the logistic guys to the shipping line, the airline, the custom, the regulator, they all get the information on hand. You know what those are. But I said, all this boils down to whether we are having the correct information about the product. Whether the dangerous goods or the chemical are very correctly identified by what we call, by what the UN calls it, the UN number and the proper shipping name and their hazard classification. And how you do that? By doing original testing. And when you do the original testing, you also generate an original SDS. Today's SDS is a cut, copy, paste. I was giving an example to him. I visited the customer to give because we do training as well on classification and identification, and very proudly the factory director was telling me, we have done the SDS for all 30-40 products that we manufacture. I said, excellent. I salute you. Yes, I've got 20 PhD guys, I've got lab, everything. So after I finished the course, I was just taking the examples of the SDS they prepared, because ultimately everything boils down to that, how you got correct the SDS. Because what is happening today, which is more dangerous than the dangerous goods itself, is using the SDS as a classification tool. Your product is classified based on what is there in the SDS. Section 14, very good section for everybody who doesn't understand dangerous goods or understand dangerous goods. They just pick up that, yeah, dangerous goods hai ya nahi hai. Okay, without even knowing how to read that. And when I did the study, I showed them, it's not that I done clandestinely, I showed them on the PPT there, what they had given to me. You won't believe it, every section had one statement, data not available. But he had classified the product. So I asked him, first of all, tell me, where did you get the data from? अरे सर जी, वो तो गूगल में सर्च किया था, मिला नहीं. उसके लिख दिया data not available. I said, fantastic job. How did you classify? हमने किसी का प्रोडक्ट देखा, हमको लगा हमारा प्रोडक्ट उसके बराबर है, हमने भी बोला हमारा प्रोडक्ट यही है. Mind you, this is not an ordinary SME company, this is a listed company. Compliance, as I was telling him before he came here, is something which is for factory and not for outside the factory. Outside, your logistics service provider will take care of it. We don't bother about it. Let them manage how they manage. And that's where we have a lot of problems happening. You can see the many ships. In the last 8 months, we had 10 to 11 accidents because the product were wrongly declared. So unless we talk compliance and safety in one language, automation cannot even be started. Yes, automation is right, somebody pointed out, it should not be looked at individuals. It's a tool to really improve our workflow, yes. But automation must be combined with compliance and safety and the safety culture, then only you can have a useful application of all these techniques which are there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So it is always very easily said we have a lot of data. Many times we don't know if the data is really relevant for us or not. And we get to know when there are problems. This is what they might be facing when they have real incident at workplace. Very good insight. So my next question is to Neeraj. How can manufacturer balance sustainability goals such as lightweight, recyclable and bio-based packaging with uncompromising safety and performance requirement, especially for the hazardous and the specialty chemicals? Sustainability is a big topic nowadays, right? We say it's a good buzzword.
Thank you, Mr. Koshal. So, since the session is on next generation industrial packaging, and next generation packaging cannot be without achieving circularity, not achieving sustainability. And to achieve circularity, especially from a material standpoint, and I would talk specifically around plastics, since plastics occupy almost 40% of the overall industrial packaging. And if you have to solve the circular equation, and in fact, the equation for circularity is not circular, it's actually square. So there are 4 main pillars of that, and it's a square peg that you have to fit in a circular hole, and that's where it's challenging. And these 4 pillars, what are these 4 pillars? Number 1 pillar is regulation. Now, if you want to implement something, and if you are a fan of Chanakya Niti says, "Samde Dand Bheg." So Dand is the regulation, and it's very, very important. There are 4 main approaches through regulations, and I think some of that the panelists also spoke of. The key of the 4 approaches is, number 1 approach is bans and restrictions. But I believe ban and restrictions might not work for industrial packaging since the hazards are involved. So we can leave that. Another instrument is economic instruments. So you have trade, you have taxes and subsidies. Taxes I would not advocate, but subsidies definitely can go a long way if we have to build a sustainable world. Moving on to the third is another important aspect which Mr. Panicker also spoke of, labeling, certification and specification. This is a very critical aspect, especially in a circular economy where you have to collect. All of the packaging has to be marked, the labeling has to be perfect, and there has to be no ambiguity in that, or there can be deficit in terms of collection. And the major losses, when you look at the whole circular value chain, occur exactly, the collection never reaches the recycling facility. The major loss happens there. So the main labeling should help there, and for industrial, especially from a chemical standpoint, there's a lot of reusing that happens, of drums, of HDPE drums. And so there should be something around labeling of, how much it can be reused and how that can be regulated. And finally, which I believe, which is the most optimum and most effective regulatory instrument is EPR, the extended producer responsibility. So what we have studied through a lot of studies that we have done, and what we have figured out, the countries with the highest rate of recycling are not the ones that have more bans. It is more which have more EPR policies. Already, I think, if you look at India, we have the plastic waste management rules which were declared in 2022. Of course, it could not get implemented in a large way. I think it got revised, which mandates, for example, in the rigid packaging space, almost 30% recycled content is mandated. When you talk of flexible, it's around 10, and when you talk of multi-laminar, it's around 5% has to be mandated from, I think, from next year onwards, I guess that will be mandate. Now, that's where a very big challenge. The next pillar besides regulation is technology. Now, technology, there are two key technologies. One is, of course, mechanical and chemical. Chemical is not so much advanced. It's not reached the level where you can go back to the same quality as the virgin one. But from a mechanical standpoint, it's the most feasible one. However, the challenge still right now from an industrial standpoint is the same amount of quality is not being achieved. And you cannot package, especially a hazardous chemical, when you have not achieved the same kind of quality. So what is really the solution? Of course, regulation will mandate that a certain recycling content has to be used. So one of the ways could be, have layered packaging material where, the contact layer is virgin, and then you have the middle layer, which is recycling, and you have the virgin outside. Or so that kind of ways could be implemented, making it. I think there are producers of IBCs that like skulls who are making these kind of packaging materials. Now moving to the third pillar, which is feedstock. Of course, like I mentioned, the waste never reaches the recycling facility. So that's where the key bottleneck is. And I think to a certain extent, ecosystem development should be there. But I believe that this is more of a challenge for consumer plastics or consumer packaging. But for industrial packaging, I think this can still be managed because, you are moving from business to business. So there can be, the people who are handling are skilled, they know about it. So circular economy or an ecosystem can be built easily at an industrial packaging rate. And the last but the least pillar, I believe, is the demand. So if there will not be demand, it will not drive. And I believe all of these three, if they work together, there will be definitely be demand. If you are able to bring the right regulations, if you are able to bring the products, the recycling products with the right quality, and also you have the right feedstock for that, definitely the demand will come, and that's how this equation can be solved. Thank you.
Thanks, Neeraj. I think with recycling, another important aspect is reusability of these drums, especially these plastic drums. One of the, I would say, very strong solution available, but there are very few who are ready to adopt it. Because everybody has quality consciousness, and still, India as a country, we don't have such facilities available where the guarantee of decontamination is available. But I think this is one of the very important aspects when you look at the cost optimization versus adding up to sustainability. As much as possible, industries start adopting to the reusability of those drums. I think it can add a lot to sustainability in my view, which I have seen is a problem. Then I move to Prashant. looking ahead 5 to 10 year, which emerging innovation, though there are many like, AI-driven, autonomous packaging line, collaborative robotics, digital twins, so many things we talk about. What do you think fundamentally an organization should think of investing? Out of this so many, which one should be thinking of? Which is going to solve the largest problem with maybe the least possible cost?
Thank you, Mr. Koshal, for the question. Looking ahead, I feel that none of the single innovation can driven the redefine of packaging automations. The main impact will come when the group of innovations, just like AI, digital tools, robotics, Industry 4.0, and many more, will come together and they just work as a sustainability model for the manufacturer. So I feel like in next, not very long, like 5 to 10 years, but in next 2 to 5 years, these technologies will definitely make one impact. As an example, for the AI, this is a very buzzword right now, but from the automation solution provider group, it is a very, very helpful for us, and the same things is happening with our partner and manufacturer, that with the use of AI integrated solution, we are just getting the data, as Mr. Panicker talk about the loss of data from the company, and they're not bothered about the data, just depending on the Google. That's a traditional technology. But with this AI tools, we are gathering this data from the plant side. We just providing this data to their R&D center, and based on this data, they are evaluating and they are preparing themselves for the next level of innovation for their finished goods. So that is for the AI. The same thing is happened with robotics. Robotics is not very unknown for India for the last 5 years, but there are many innovations coming down. Like earlier we talked about only industrial robotic, but now we have a product called Cobot, that's a collaborative robot, where it is a very useful for low application, not for a high volume, but low application where the repeated job is too high, their physical demand is quite high and all. Over there we can use. Same thing is for the digital tools. So with the digital tools, we are providing this data to interlink from warehouse to the logistic automation, so that they can easily make a synchronization between the business to business demand from their system. Apart from this, I would like to just add one point from our co-panelists about the level of automation, as well as means when the time will come for the manufacturer when they are going for a implement the automation in their plant, existing activity plan. So I would say, as per my experience, means every customer, every application is demanding a different level of automation. We cannot actually implement automation 100% to each and every application, and here the expertise will come into the picture. So I can tell from my experience with the PT. So PT is always work for a fit for purpose automation. So as you ask about the real example, I can tell you that last 6 months we were working for one of our big solvent adhesive manufacturer. They are expanding a huge amount for innovation of new powder manufacturing over there. But just because they are scared that how they are handling this product, because it's a very precious, very costly product, 100% export product, but they were struggling to get the right solution, not only for the investment, but in terms of the real handling those automation with Indian skilled people. So we had worked with them together for the 2 months, and we customized our solution for them, and based on the approval from them, they have just get the clearance to go for the commercial production for them itself. So this type of work, we always work with our partner, and there's never been like a vendor and supplier, but we just like part of their goods studies now. Last but not the least, about the investment criteria. So I would suggest that manufacturer or producer, if they are thinking to implement this automation in their plant, so they have to think about some of the key parameters, like before to take a final decision, they have to think that the automation level, they have to go for automation. This should be a flexible. This should not be a rigid one. It will be a very matched to their existing setup and activities. Secondly, about they should have a capability to take a data connectivity so that they not only helpful for the current operation, but they can analyze the data to make their future path. And last but not the least, about the people connectivity, because suppose if we will go for the automation and the supervise of this automation, if the skilled people is not over here, that is another big challenge for them. So these are the main impact I would see, for the next 2 to 3 years and all.
The biggest challenge which industry has practically is, यदि automation आ जाएगा तो हमारा job चला जाएगा, right? That's the problem. That's what where the management should.
And that is the myth actually. That is the myth. Automation is never talk about disconnecting the manpower from the machine and all. But ultimately, to run this automation, we need to have a people, because they have to supervise this system and make a full of maintenance, so that you can leverage at least 100% of the facility which you implemented over there. So that is a very, very important things from the owner and promoter point of view.
Yeah, a lot of this automation and the robotics is nice when it comes to investment for a large operations. How are you managing the clients which are more into the SMEs? Medium scale, they don't have that much of money to invest, but they still want to get into automation to bring accuracy. So how do you handle them, or what is your advice to them?
For the robotics?
Maybe robotics, automation, AI. See, there is a basic automation, then you have an AI-driven automation.
Correct.
So it is nice to talk, but for SMEs, medium scale organization, it is not so easy to invest that much of money. So how do you handle them, or what is the advice from your side?
Okay,
to them?
so I think I can tell my experience on that way. The biggest point to convince to the customer is the ROI, return of investment. And nowadays, if I can see this small scale, medium scale, of course, petrochemical is out of the way, because it's always requiring a high demand, high speed system, and also the owner or PSUs, they never bother about to go for the apex. But if you talk about specialty chemical or mid-level chemicals industries and all, they are very skeptical to go for a high-end capex investment, at least with the name or buzzword of the automation and all. But the moment once we show them the picture from their current activity, that how much they are losing revenue, as you can see in my previous during presentation, if we take an example of powder, so they say that they are producing millions of ton in a year, but in the river, they are not actually getting the same revenue which they anticipated before, deciding to go for manufacturing for the current year and all. Why? Because they are wasting their product in terms of dusting, in terms of spillage and mishandling by the manual labor. So, whenever we show these factors to them with the real data analysis, of course, it is a very easy for them to take a decision for investment on this automation itself.
Thanks, Prashant. So maybe my last question, and it is open for everybody, which I'm sure be interested to the audience more. If you had to prioritize only one investment over next 3 year or 5 year or 4 year, depend on the situation, be it automation, safety compliance, quality excellence, sustainability, digital traceability, which according to you would be the greatest competitive advantage for an Indian manufacturer? So do not correlate only with your organization, but in general, and why it should be. So it is open for anybody, whoever want to take it, or anybody want to add? Anybody, yeah.
Okay, thanks. So if I had to choose any one of the terms like a safety, automation to implement my existing plant, definitely I would go with the automation first, because automation is not only to drive your current business in terms of increasing your production, making, reducing your losses of the product, but it is also provide you, the safety guard for your unsafe operation in your plant itself. For example, if you go with a manual operation, like I can see in the industry itself, it is a very easy that the human being, whether it's a labor or supervisor, doesn't matter, but they are being a human being, they are always be exposed with the moving and rotatory part in the factory itself. But the moment we add this automation with the latest interlock about the safeguards, digital tools, data analytics and all, then at least we are very much pretty sure that the manpower, whether it's a skilled or unskilled, they always be protected from their daily activities. And nowadays the regulation from the HR and human resources is a very rigid from the government of India. They usually earlier doing a yearly audit for this, but I think because of the some incidents, they have just decided to do this audit for the 6 months and all. So it is not the responsibility of the supervisor, but it is also responsible for the owner of the company, that they have to make a safe environment to their manpower to do these activities over there. So definitely automation will definitely provide all sort of solution to them.
Thanks, Prashant. Anyone else would like to add?
If I have to prioritize, I will prioritize the safety compliances. Not only for the safety statutory obligations, it's for the business strategy. In our type of industry, if the safe plant is more reliable, and more reliable plant is more profitable, I think. Thank you.
In long term, it is always better. True. Anyone else would like to say?
Yeah, I would prioritize on sustainability and recyclability, primarily because it might be, not visible at this point, but we are looking at, microplastics. Some study in Netherlands, they had published that, it might also be in your blood. So it's not something that, it's not visible. Maybe today it's not as much damaging, but for future generations, definitely I think we have to think in terms of circularity. We have to think in terms of sustainability. Yeah.
Thanks.
I would just like to add, and I would like to definitely support what Mr. Mishra has also said, that automation, basically the aim of automation is to have safer operations, better quality, compliance, sustainability. So it encompasses all the aspects that you have told. So if I have to prioritize, definitely automation is the one we should look at, because it can take care of all these aspects, whether it is a regulatory compliance, safer operations with all the different kind of interlock systems, emergency shutdown systems and all that. So definitely automation would be the priority for the future. Thank you.
You want to add anything, Prakash?
No, I just want to add here one more point, that reuse of these packages is also a very important concept which one has to develop. I will quote a simple example which we followed in Australia. So in one of our plant we used to use lot of IBCs. So IBCs are basically the package which is carrying close to 1 ton of material. So there we have started to reusing of this IBC. Once it is unloaded at our customer place, we take them, clean them, and again use this particular IBCs. And this is really a fantastic approach. And although this is not tried in India, but industry should try such type of approaches, because this will definitely help for sustainability criteria. And as you know that in India we have a very strict regulation which is EPR regulation. And we really need to work on this particular EPR. Every chemical industries who are at the manufacturing end or producer responsibility. So this is what I feel, that one should go ahead with this recyclable things.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I think it cannot be just a blind automation for sake of automation, but where automation is going to provide great benefit, where I'm going to reduce my losses, there automation has to be the way forward. Just because 10% are doing automation or automated system, I do not do automation. It should fit into my system. I look at where automation is going to create the maximum benefit, okay, and safety parameter. This has to come jointly, safety and automation. Then only we can take a right decision. You've seen earlier days when the lathe machine came in. Now people were doing cutting, welding all by manual system, but the lathe machine came in and almost everybody now is using that for cutting purpose. Okay, so it's not that you cannot do it. The question is first the cost factor and whether it fits into your system. Then you do it and make sure that you apply it, because waste must be avoided, and this helps you avoid the waste.
Thank you. So I think the final take is it's all about prioritization. Where does your organization fit into? Up to safety and sustainability is something which, especially when this forum talks about chemical, petrochemical, one of the very, very important priority which I'm sure we all should carry on our shoulder as professionals. So that should be priority in my view. And parallelly, how do we improve upon cost? How do we improve upon efficiency? Can reach the zero error situation is something which will always be adding to the business directly. But safety and sustainability and compliances will be leading the organization to 5, 10, 20 year or, it may last forever. So it is all about balancing that which any organization should do. With that, I think, Prashantji, we are done with most of the questions which I had. Thank you very much for your insight and contribution basis your experiences which you have given. I'm sure not all, but something which audience will also be taking back to their workplace. Thank you very much for your patient listening and nodding at least so we understand that you are listening. That is very, very important. Huh? On a lighter note, thank you very much.